Struggling writer James travels to the island country of Litolka for a resort vacation to inspire his writing. But when James accidentally runs over a man while drunk driving, the authorities arrest him and charge him with the death penalty. But Litolka has a dark secret in their unique justice system. For a hefty price, you may pay to have a clone created of yourself and watch them die in your place. As it turns out, Litolka's tropical beaches aren't the only attraction for wealthy vacation goers. James meets and becomes part of a group of rich Westerners who annually vacation in Litolka to take advantage of the legal loophole the country offers and go on a week-long hedonistic crime spree, killing and stealing from the Litolkans, only to pay their fines, watch the devils die, and leave without punishment. We watch James transform from an ordinary man into a downright evil one, and find the inspiration he never should have found. Hi, welcome to Film Philosophy. Today we'll look at Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool is all about evil, something we're all familiar with. Many of us have personally been touched by it. If not, you see it in the news. Horrible crimes and tragedies committed by people. And this leads us to ask, why? What kind of person is capable of doing such horrible things? And Infinity Pool offers a disturbing answer. That all of us, ordinary, even good people, in the right situation are capable of terrible deeds. The ability for evil lies in every human heart, and while no one is born evil, all of us are born with the capacity for evil. Let's dive in. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato offered a similar thought experiment to the one provided in Infinity Pool. Imagine a magical ring. When worn, its user can become invisible and anonymous at will, free to do whatever they want without the consequences or fear of punishment. How would you act if you could do anything you wanted? And this is essentially the context Infinity Pool provides. Those with enough money can come to Litolka and get away with any criminal act they want, something they probably couldn't get away with in their respective Western countries, where if they were to blatantly steal and kill, like they do in Litolka, they would likely be promptly arrested. And it's this knowledge that our actions have consequences that deters us not only from doing said actions, but from considering if we would want to in the first place. What dark desires are buried within us that may be set free if we could do whatever we want? If it weren't for the corrupt institutions made by Litolkan elite, where in exchange for what is essentially bribery, Western foreigners can ravage the Litolkan people, we can imagine that this murderous gang of Westerners may never have done any of the heinous crimes we see them commit. But like James, these once normal people chose to vacation in Litolka, and likely committed some violation of the conservative Litolkan laws, and then were exposed to the cloning loophole. And after watching their clones die, perhaps out of necessity to save their own life at first, they were both horrified, but tempted with the possibility that their money could empower them to do whatever they want, which they now have completely given into by the time James is inducted into the group. And this is one of the many disturbing truths the film presents us with. That it is not our character, but the situations and pressures we find ourselves in that determine whether or not we do good or bad. For example, we can look to one of the members of the murderous Western cabal, Dr. Modan. Not every doctor is a saint, but to become a doctor, one must demonstrate strength in numerous virtues, such as persistence to get through years of hard schooling, and a love for helping the patients you care for, among other characteristics. While Dr. Modan is not on vacation, he may be a good person, like most doctors. But for 1 week a year, a person we might all look up to as an extraordinary exemplar of goodness has succumbed to hedonistic and selfish desires despite his character. And even James, who isn't by any stretch a great person, because of the circumstances and pressures facing him when he is originally arrested, chooses to do the wrong thing and create a clone to take the punishment that belongs to him. This is undoubtedly an evil thing, to create a life just to kill it, but how many of us faced with our execution would do the same thing? All of which leads us to ask the question, do we do good and avoid evil because we have good character and are genuinely kind and virtuous people? Or rather, is it simply because we can't do evil without consequence that we refrain from doing so? And if you've seriously thought about this question, the answer is scary. Instead, we'd like to believe that there are two kinds of people in the world, good-natured people and evil-natured people, and that we belong to the former. That way, we can categorize ourselves separately from those we see as horrible people, both denying that we are anything like them, and that we are incapable of acting in that way. We might call them monsters, an interesting psychological trick, as if to emphasize that we are so different from them that we are not even of the same species. The problem is, this view is not only wrong, but dangerous, because it leads us to underestimate what we are capable of and create institutions that are ripe for corruption and evil. Christopher Browning's groundbreaking book, Ordinary Men, studied a German police battalion throughout World War II, which committed massacres and rounded up Jews to be sent to concentration camps. Browning asks, how did the individuals who were once ordinary officers become capable of carrying out one of history's most vile mass genocides? The answer was unexpected. These men were not Nazis with hatred for Jewish people. Most of them grew up in the least anti-Semitic regions at the time, and were raised before the implementation of Nazi propaganda, nor were they forced into this foul assignment. In fact, commanding officers offered any men who were uncomfortable with the task given to them to be reassigned without punishment, but few, if any, took the offer. This was not a story of evil psychopaths acting on prejudice. This was a story about how people obey authorities and succumb to peer pressures, desensitizing them into thinking genocide was just a day job. And something similar was found by philosopher and historian Hannah Arendt. After the war, Arendt created a psychological profile of Adolf Eichmann, an architect of the Holocaust, to understand his actions and motivations. And what did she find? Nothing special at all. A balding, bland, and apathetic bureaucrat who committed mass murder not so much out of hate, but for promotions and power. To describe this phenomena, she coined the phrase, the banality of evil. It's the face of people who are very, very similar to us, and what they did, we are also capable of doing too. The possibility that through pressures of authority and not standing up to the face of evil, we could become just like Eichmann. Make no mistake, none of this is to excuse the evil done by the characters in the film, nor the people responsible for any other horrific act. But if we have any desire to prevent evil from occurring, we should be focused on the institutions, conditions, and pressures that become a breeding ground for it, including a good, long look at ourselves. If you don't want to be mauled by lions, you could train yourself to be a lion fighter, or you could just not go into the lion's den. Do the latter. Be aware of what you're capable of, and don't wander into a situation where your good character may be tested. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and let me know your thoughts or other ideas for videos in the comments below.